You're stuck in a bad habit. Your brain is choosing instant gratification over long-term gain, and each decision feels perfectly rational. You're sitting on your couch, watching a movie that you've been tolerating for 45 minutes, and a voice in your head says, well, I've come this far, might as well finish it. You've invested time, and somehow, that investment feels like it should count for something. You think back to all the other times you've done this. Sat through a mediocre film, persevered with a book that wasn't holding your attention, or continued a project that was no longer serving you. It's as if your brain is trying to justify the effort you've already put in, even if it no longer makes sense to continue. This is not laziness or weakness, but rather your brain's tendency to prioritize a small, immediate emotional reward over a larger, delayed one. At the heart of this behavior is the idea that our brains are wired to respond to immediate rewards, even if they're not in our best long-term interest. This single thread ties together many of our self-defeating habits, and it's essential to understand the underlying mechanisms that drive these behaviors. The sunk cost fallacy is a perfect example of this. Your brain hates wasting effort already spent, even though that effort is gone either way and shouldn't factor in what you do next. This pushes you to keep investing in something purely to justify what you already put in, rather than judging it on its own merits going forward. Researchers have found that this phenomenon is rooted in our brain's aversion to loss. We tend to fear loss more than we value gain, and this fear can lead us to make irrational decisions. In the case of the sunk cost fallacy, we're trying to avoid the feeling of loss associated with wasting our time or resources. But that's exactly what we're doing, wasting more time and resources by continuing to invest in something that's no longer serving us. This behavior is not unique to individual decisions. It's a pattern that can be seen in many areas of our lives. We've all been guilty of throwing good money after bad, or continuing a relationship that's no longer healthy, simply because we've already invested so much. But that's only half of it. Another phenomenon that illustrates this tendency is choice overload. You open a streaming app, and you're faced with thousands of options. You scroll for 20 minutes, trying to find the perfect show, but ultimately, you end up rewatching something you've already seen. This might seem like a lazy decision, but it's actually your brain's response to the overwhelming amount of choices in front of you. Too many options increase the mental effort and anxiety of choosing well, since you now have to compare far more possibilities and live with more potential regret over what you didn't pick. Past a certain point, more choice can lower both satisfaction and the odds you choose at all. Your brain is trying to avoid the fear of making the wrong choice, and in doing so, it's choosing the path of least resistance, sticking with what you know, even if it's not the best option. This behavior is not unique to streaming apps. It's a pattern that can be seen in many areas of our lives. We've all been faced with too many options, whether it's choosing a restaurant, a career path, or a life partner. And in each of these situations, our brains are trying to navigate the overwhelming amount of choices and find the best option. But sometimes this can lead to analysis paralysis, and we end up not making a decision at all. But that's still only half of it. Another phenomenon that illustrates this tendency is confirmation bias. You think a certain phone brand is unreliable, so every time you hear about one breaking, you go see, told you, while ignoring the hundreds that work fine. This might seem like a harmless behavior, but it's actually your brain's tendency to preferentially search for, notice, and remember information that confirms your existing beliefs, while unconsciously filtering out or downplaying anything that contradicts it. This makes existing beliefs feel more supported by the evidence than they actually are. Your brain is trying to avoid the discomfort of being wrong, and in doing so, it's creating a distorted view of reality. This behavior is not unique to individual beliefs. It's a pattern that can be seen in many areas of our lives. We've all been guilty of cherry-picking information that supports our views, while ignoring the evidence that contradicts them. As we examine these phenomena, it becomes clear that our brains are wired to prioritize short-term emotional rewards over long-term gains. We're trying to avoid loss, avoid regret, and avoid the discomfort of being wrong. But in doing so, we're often making decisions that are not in our best interest. This is the counterintuitive takeaway from all of this. Our self-defeating habits are not a result of laziness or weakness, but rather a result of our brain's tendency to prioritize immediate emotional rewards. So, The next time you find yourself stuck in a bad habit, remember that your brain is not trying to sabotage you. It's just trying to get that instant gratification. And with that insight, you can start to make different choices that align with your long-term goals and values. Thanks for watching, and if you want to dive deeper into the psychology of human behavior, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one.